Welcome back, treasure hunters. So today I wanted to review some of the sales that I've had in the past, I don't know, a little more than 2 weeks. I got a little bit off schedule. I was going to do one last week, but I had a bunch of other videos that I wanted to get out first. So here are the sales that I had over the past 2 weeks or so. And of course, I'll tell you where I got each item, how much I paid for them, and also I'll tell you, what caught my eye about them and why I wanted to make that purchase. And of course, we'll go over the profit I made also. Okay, so the first thing I sold was this vintage Empoli art glass decanter, and it's in a gradient amber. It's all made of glass. It's all handmade or hand blown. And again, Empoli comes from Italy. It's made in Italy, and it has some recognizable features here, especially the stopper at the top, how it's twisted, and the way the base is also. I see a lot of Empoli, different pieces of Empoli with this kind of twist and how the colors kind of set in there. Here's a different angle, and again, this is a darker amber with a clear handle, clear stopper, and clear base. And here's a view of the glass stopper. Initially, right away, I don't buy every piece of Empoli that I see because there's a lot of it, honestly. I do run across Empoli often, and I did pick this one up just because this is something that you don't see every day. It was in fantastic condition. The coloring was really nice. I like, that dark amber color, and the decanters tend to sell for more money than, and last video I did of my sales, I also had an Empoli hobnail decanter. So those decanters tend to sell a little bit better than, just generic, shaped wine glasses or goblets or other things like that. So I picked up the decanter at a Goodwill. I picked it up probably, 4 months ago or something. I think I paid $5.99 for it, and I sold it for $80. And these are all my Etsy store sales I'll go over first. But I was running a 15% off coupon, so ended up being $68. My next sale I'm going to review with you is this art glass vase. It's a smaller vase by Robert Coleman, and it kind of reminded me of a heart, especially how this piece is stretched over. It kind of reminded me of like a artery or something, I guess, and just the way it's shaped, and even like the coloring and how this is darker in the middle, and how the bottom just comes to it just kind of reminded me of like a human heart. But anyway, right when I saw I got this at a Salvation Army, and it was actually in one of those cases where the checkout counter is. And a lot of times the items in the cases are more expensive, but this was only $2.99. And here's a different angle. It's kind of has that iridescent look, and a lot of good coloring in the whole vase. And on both sides, you'll see this texture change in the middle and how it's kind of pulled over from side to side. So I thought that was pretty cool, the way that this thing was constructed. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was art glass, just given how unique it is and the coloring used. And here you can see the bottom is not completely polished like a lot of other pieces, that like art glass pieces. A lot of times you'll see like a polished bottom, but this one is also not just, that's done on purpose. So it's not just sawed off like a lot of the Chinese stuff is. But here's the signature. It's on the side, and it says Coleman, and it was done in '89. Here's the better look at the date. And this thing was only 5.5 inches tall, so it wasn't a huge vase, but it is pretty striking just on the iridescence and the color that the artist got out of this glass. So, like I said before, I paid $2.99 for this vase, and I ended up selling it for $50, which all of these are going to be free shipping, but the shipping for this obviously was pretty inexpensive just because of the size, and it only went to Minnesota, so it wasn't bad, and it was a good $3 investment. My next sale here is this piece of studio pottery, and it's pretty small. It's only 5 inches tall. Just a jar or a vase, but you can see the coloring here. It almost looks like a landscape to me, and it's just really, really nicely done. I mean, this is very, very nice construction and overall quality. Here's some close-ups of that coloring and the glazing used. And this was done by Sylvia Hyman, and she's a very well-known potter, and she was out of Tennessee. Here's her signature on the bottom. So I picked this up quite a while ago. It was only $3, and I hadn't listed it for a while because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. And then finally I was trying to get more things that I've had sitting around listed. So I just recently listed this, probably 3 or 4 months ago, and someone in Tennessee actually bought it. And I sold this one for $125, which was pretty surprising and an awesome $3 find. Next, I sold a piece of art, and this is by Paul Sawyer. It's a limited edition offset lithograph, and the title on this piece was Wapping Street Reflections. He was from Ohio. You can see here in the description. And this one was numbered 3209 out of 3500. This was a limited print. And you can see, he was an artist a while ago. So they must have purchased or the rights to, or, however that works, in 1982 to reprint a limited number of some of his works. And it was done by Stevenson Photo Color Company in the 80s. After they printed all of those, all the plates were destroyed. So that makes it kind of cool. This just is a nice cityscape kind of scene with this old street light. And you can see his signature down here, and then the numbering. And what grabbed my attention, which always does, is anytime there's some sort of information or, obviously if there's a certificate of authenticity or gallery information or anything on the back and it looks professionally framed, then I always look further into it. And it's not always guaranteed that you're going to get a profitable item or something that's really valuable, but more often than not, I do find something that I can make a profit off of. So this is the authentication, and it just tells about the artist here, and then it has the name of the piece itself, and just kind of explains, the process. And this is the information about the plates and the number of prints and everything. So I picked this piece up for $6, and I got it a while ago, and I sold this piece it was actually shipped to a courthouse somewhere in middle Ohio. So that they'll be hanging it in the courthouse, but I sold it for $125. My next sale on Etsy, I sold this Amos Amit. It's a limited edition print, and the title is Sabbath. It is hand signed here on the matting, and it is numbered 334 out of 500. And I found that Amos Amit is a very well-known Jewish artist that did a lot of his work on batik, which is like a cloth. Here's a view of the piece in the frame, and the frame is in really good condition, and it's professionally matted in this navy blue with gold. Here is his signature here on the second matting, the title Sabbath, and the 334 out of 500. So I picked this piece up at a Goodwill for $3, and I sold it for $125. I did see some of his work listed for more than double this. I saw it as high as like 500. But given the size and, just what, like I had this for a little bit, so it wasn't selling too quickly. So I kept knocking the price down, and seeing that I only got it for $3, $125 is still obviously well within the profit margin that I'd want to make off of it. So this is one of those pieces where somebody got a really good deal on this piece of art, but I still made, a really good profit. So this next piece here is something that I've had for quite a while. It was something that I got when I first started. It's really nicely done. The glaze is kind of cool, especially the way the color changes, and it drips onto this more neutral color. And it's in perfect condition, but it had no signature. This is likely some kind of production piece, I would think. Yeah, I got this a long time ago and just threw it up on Etsy to clear some of the inventory out. So not too much more about this piece. I mean, it was just a nice looking picture when I started. I really liked the drip glaze that it had and the colors that were used. And I ended up, I probably paid, I don't know, like $3 or $4 for this, and I ended up selling it for $35. So I still made some profit off of it, and I did get a 5-star review from the buyer. So all in all, it was still a good purchase for one of my first items that I got. So this next piece here that I sold, I actually got 2 of these at the same time. One was this deer family, and another one were some ducks flying. And this is an etching done on a leather canvas by Jack Hines in 1982. It does have a wood frame, and there are some like little dings to the frame, but given the age, that's not a big deal. The frame's still in pretty good condition. Here you can see the etching itself, and here it's dated 1982 in Jack Hines. I've had this for quite a while too. I recently sold the duck one probably a couple months ago, and I picked this one up I picked both of them up for $4.99 at a local Savers. And Jack Hines, he did a lot of the nature forest type work here on leather. I did see some other animals on leather. I've had this was another piece that I got not right when I started, but shortly after. I probably would not have purchased both of these now, just given that, they're a little harder to sell and they're not super unique or anything. But when I first started, seeing that some of these were listed, for $75 to $100, which is probably pretty high. But when I saw that when I first started, it looked really good to me. And seeing that it was only $4.99 wasn't a huge investment or anything. So like I said before, I purchased this for $4.99 and I ended up selling it for $50. But the biggest thing here was shipping cost me $22. And seeing that it was on Etsy, I had to pay the shipping. So the profit that really ate into my profit, let's say, So that's pretty much the reason that I probably wouldn't have made this purchase, just because I did have to ship this in a 20 by 20 box, I believe. And that tends to get a little more expensive. It only went to North Carolina. But if this would have sold to, Colorado or Utah or something, that would have been even more expensive. So that's just one thing to look out, just because, one, something's listed for a higher price, like 80 or $100, doesn't mean that's what you're going to get out of it. And also you have to take into consideration the shipping price. Here's another piece of art I sold, and this is titled Inquisitive Owl, and it is a pretty cool lithograph by K. Chin, and I could not find his first name. A lot of his work was just listed K. Chin. It is a limited edition. Here's an up-close picture first. Really detailed, really cool. I just really like the eyes. I mean, they definitely jump out from the rest of the colors used, and even I like how you can tell it's night out in this lithograph, just with the dark sky in the back and the darker trees. Here's his signature. It's signed in pencil, and the Inquisitive Owl, which is the title, and it was 113 out of 250. Not a huge piece, so it didn't cost a ton to ship. It was only 20 by 17 in the frame. Everything was in really good condition, and I saw his work selling, larger pieces of his work were selling for $200 to $300, but I really liked the overall look of this, and I got it at a Goodwill for $5.99, and I ended up selling this one for $125. And I only had this probably, 2 or 3 months, I would say. And it cost me $23 to ship, so it's not bad at all. So that ended up being a nice, profitable investment. So here's some more recent art that I sold. This is actually a pair of, these are vintage Chinese embroidered art on silk. And there's no artist's signature or anything. This is more this is very finely done. The first one here shows a bird and a butterfly on these flowers. Here you can see it in the frame, and this is only 16.5 by 15 inches. And it's got a nice border around it. Here's an up-close view of the actual embroidery. And then the second one here shows just some flowers and a butterfly. And I decided to sell these as a pair, just because I could ask for more money, and plus shipping, I could wrap them separately and stack them on each other and still only pretty much pay the same as I would if I sold them separately. Then I'd basically have to double the shipping costs. So it'd actually take more out of my profit if I sold these individually. These are likely done in the mid-century, and I picked both of these up at a Goodwill for, I think, $4.99 a piece, and I sold the pair for $100. It cost me $22 to ship, so $10 investment. I still, with fees and everything else, made around $70. Next thing I sold here is, this was a large plaque. It's called a relief plaque, just the way it's done, how the figures kind of look carved out. So the background has been carved out and it leaves this relief work. And it's a ancient Greek scene here of a man and a woman. It looks like after, they slaughtered some animals to most likely eat, I would guess. I don't know any Greek history or anything, so I'm not sure if this is a piece that has significance, just the scene itself. But here you can see more up and close details of this piece. It's in decent condition. There are some markings on it. Just, looks like little scuffs and everything else. And I'm sure somebody could, touch that up, but also, you want it to look older, I guess. And this has no markings or anything, but I did find similar pieces like this. They're museum reproductions that had the same kind of, this actually looked like a thick wire just made into the actual plaque itself. And I saw similar hanging piece or whatever on some other museum replicas. So that's just kind of the assumption that I made. This piece was really heavy. It was very solid. I think when I shipped it, it ended up being close to like 15 pounds or something, all packaged up. And I got this at a Savers, and it was only like $5 or something. I didn't know at the time, because I did get this a while ago, I didn't know at the time exactly, if somebody made this themselves, or if this, if the front part, I don't have a picture of it, but there's like a back plaster part where the wire sticks in, and it almost looked like somebody added that on. And I didn't know if, this was an older piece that somebody just wanted to hang up, or if it was a replica piece. But after doing research and stuff, because I actually had this sitting around for a long time, and I just recently listed it, and surprisingly enough, I did get a ton of interest both on Etsy and on eBay. And I ended up selling this piece for $175, which was a great profit, and it only went to New Jersey, so it only cost me $23 to ship, which was great. So this was a very good investment and kind of a cool, unique piece. I couldn't find any other ones that depicted what this plaque did, but I'm sure that the buyer did enjoy it. So the last Etsy sale that I'm going to go over with you, these should look familiar if you watched any of my recent thrift store find videos. I got this pair of, these are AMR or Alva museum replicas, and I found that these are outside. I didn't know. I'd been to New York City one time, but the New York Public Library, I guess, has these two huge lion statues outside, and these are just replicas of those statues made by Alva Studios. And again, if you watched recent sale video of mine, I did sell another Alva replica sculpture of JFK. Here's another view of, and I went through all the different, just so people can see that, there's not major damage or anything. I don't know if this is an actual chip or if the line itself, if this was made to be realistic. But either way, it's not very noticeable. And here is the sticker on the bottom. Same thing. And these are like mid-century, obviously, with 1965. And I was able to easily find and identify these to price them. Now, these weren't as valuable as the JFK statue, but I still got $75 for this pair. And I did also get a 5-star review, and the seller was very happy with them. So that's always a good thing. And I got these at a Goodwill. I can't remember exactly what I paid, but I think they were around $6 a piece. So still a decent profit. And just given how fast the other Alva Studios piece sold, that's kind of the reason that I picked these up, because I had a feeling that they would also sell fairly quickly, and they did. So that was a good thing. Okay, now I'm going to get into a couple eBay sales that I had. I did sell a couple t-shirts. First one here, I found this vintage 1990s Disturbed band t-shirt. Got this at a Salvation Army for $1.99. It's got a pretty cool graphic here on the front of some kind of demon looking thing. Here's the tag, Hanes Heavyweight. I think this was probably made in the later 90s, and it was in good shape. It's a good size at large. And I sold this one for 25 bucks. And here is the other t-shirt that I sold. I got this at a Goodwill, and I think this one was $6.99 or $5.99. I don't remember, but this is a tour t-shirt, which are always good finds if they're from bands who have a dedicated following. And this is from 2007. The band is Wolfmother. And here is the tag. It's an extra large. And this is the tour back. It was a 2007 tour, and you can see they went through Canada and then came on down through the U.S., northern U.S., and then even made it to Australia. So this was a worldwide tour. It just has a photo here of the band. And here's an up close of the graphic. And this was also in really good condition. And I ended up selling this for 50 bucks and plus shipping. So the next sale I had here is a late 1800s Napier Johnstone's extra old Highland whiskey bottle. And this is just obviously a very old whiskey bottle. Didn't have the cork or anything in it. Here's the front. And you can tell it's old just by the way it's made, and especially the top. And this bottle was in really good condition. I did try to clean it out because, funny thing about this, I got this at a garage sale a while ago for $3. And the person that was selling it at the garage sale said that they had been walking their dog at a previous house and there was a new development under construction. And they actually were walking by and found this like buried in the mud. So the inside was like real muddy. But yeah, they picked it up, and then I guess they didn't want it anymore later on. So they put it out at the garage sale. And I ended up selling this one for 45 bucks plus shipping. So here's my next sale. And this is an original William Henley Chandler antique seascape painting with, it looks like either a sun, I'm imagining it's probably a sunset, could be a sunrise, I don't know. I got this at the first estate sale that I ever went to. It wasn't an estate auction, it was an estate sale. It was in really good condition. I did have to kind of fix the back of the frame up a little bit because it was coming loose, but that was really easy. I just put a couple nails in the back to hold it in place. But the painting itself was in really good condition. And here's a picture of the back. And it did have this on the back, which does have a date of 1855. And I think this is just the type of paper that was used, I imagine. But, you know, it does kind of give a clue into that, you know, it's an older piece. And also just the way the back of the frame is and how it's set in here. You can tell, and this was done on this board, and it did have a signature and a name on the back, and this says Willoughby, Ohio, which is a city right by where I live. Here's a better look of that, and then it did have a name also, but I'm pretty sure that those were one, the name of the owner of the painting, and two, that, you know, they lived in Willoughby, Ohio, because I did get this in a city that was close by Willoughby. But I paid, I think, $225 for this, and it was, I really didn't know because it's not signed, so I didn't know, I couldn't look up the artist, but just given how nice the painting is, and it's just a really beautiful scene here of that sunset. I'm pretty sure it's sunset, and that it was in good condition, and they kind of had it separated like standing on an easel. They had a price for $225, so I decided to take a shot at that. I didn't sell it for $600. I had it listed for $600, and somebody offered me $475 for it, so I ended up taking that. And mostly because I did have this up for a little bit of time on some multiple sites, and it did get a lot of interactions like likes and favorites or whatever. But at least on eBay, I don't have to pay for the shipping out of the profit. $475, still actually a little bit less than double what I paid for it, but it still makes me a decent amount of profit. This was good for a first time estate sale buy and taking a chance. At least I didn't lose money on it or find that, it wasn't really worth anything and I couldn't sell it at all. So still, it's a good learning experience, but still a good investment. So my next sale was also a piece of art, and I did show this in a previous video of my thrift store finds, and this is a 1927 portrait of this family of dogs by Reuben Ward Binks, who was a very well-known English artist who did a lot of show dogs, and this features one of he was the first dual time winner in, it says in here, I don't remember exactly. It's a dual FCCH champion. So that's I don't remember what it's something champion and champion of something else. But there are multiple events or whatever, and he was the first dual champion Bantry Bolo, which is the dog here in the middle. And then surrounding him are 4 of his offspring, 4 of his sons. And there's another dual champion and then a couple more other champion dogs. So he did these little portraits of the family of these well-known dogs way back in the day. And this was done again in 1927. He also did some portraits, like more elaborate full portraits of the royal dogs in England, and some other very well-known people did portraits of their dogs. So he was very well-known doing that. Oh, it's field trial champion, just the bench championship, I guess. I'm not really up to date on these old school dog events or sports or whatever. But here's a signature dated 1927. And then on the back here, it did have a gallery sticker from Charlottesville, Virginia. And I believe this is a watercolor. And I had it listed I actually got this quoted for auction. They estimated it at $600 to $800. And I had it listed on some numerous sites for a little bit. And then I kept knocking down the price, especially on eBay. And I knocked it down to $699, and then somebody offered me $475 for it. So I just took that, and they paid shipping, and I paid $599 for this at a Goodwill. So anything that high, I'm not gonna decline that and try to counteroffer to $550 or something, because I might lose the sale, and it's not really worth it for $75 when I already made for a guaranteed $475 out of a $6 investment. So sold this, and the person that bought it they were real happy, because I guess they had labs themselves, and they were a big time black lab lover. So this was an excellent investment, obviously, and kind of a rare find, especially an older piece like this, only for $6. So here's the last sale that I'm going to show you, and this was actually through my Cherish store, and I sold this 1960s. It's an Arnaldo Zanella Murano art glass sculpture, and I picked this piece up from a Goodwill for $3, and this is another one of those things where I got it off the cart, and I was surprised it was only $3. It's extremely well made. And you can tell that just by looking. The glass is very clear, very polished. There was no damage to it. It's got a nice bright yellow color. And here you can see the signature. Here's another shot. So it says Zanella Murano. I had this for quite a while, and I had it listed for more because I was seeing a lot of his sculptures listed in the $300 range, and I kept knocking it down. I think I had this listed for around $200 on Cherish, and somebody offered me $158. I don't know how they came up with that number, but they did. So I just took it because, again, I only put $3 into it. So it was another good profitable investment. So that's all of the items that I have to review with you today. I appreciate you guys checking them out. If you have any questions, as always, just leave a comment below and I will answer them if possible as soon as I can. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Stay safe out there. I'll be back with some more thrift store finds soon. And good luck out there treasure hunting.